5. Maxine hurried to catch up with the others. The old man was leading them across a grassy field toward the bunkhouse. Maxine fell in line at the back and trudged along. They could only move as fast as the old man, so she had plenty of time to take in their surroundings. The field spread out for several acres, and there were trees everywhere, big, old ones, full of green leaves. They were full of cicadas, too, and the insects sang loudly, as if celebrating the arrival of a new day. The grass and flowers swayed in the breeze, bees and butterflies moving lazily from one blossom to another. Production value, she thought, and smiled. Hell of a spread you got here, Wayne said, gesturing toward the landscape. Howard answered without turning back to look at him.
We like it,
he said. The old man was breathing hard now, and his pace slowed. He started to wheeze, and then he stopped, bent over, hands on his knees, and fought to draw in a full breath. Concerned, Wayne moved closer to the man and put a hand on his back. You all right, old-timer? Wayne said. The instant Wayne's hand came in contact with Howard, the old man straightened. It was as if he couldn't abide being touched.
I'm fine,
he said. He started walking again, breathing easier now, and moving a little faster. Maxine had the impression the old man was managing the journey through sheer force of will. Wayne turned to look at the rest of them as if to say, You see that? They continued following the old man until they reached the bunkhouse. It wasn't much to look at from the outside, and Maxine lowered her estimate of their production value a few notches. They filed in one at a time, taking in the place that was going to serve as their movie studio for the next couple of days. The lights were off, and must hung heavy in the air. On one side of the room, a dining table and chairs were arranged next to a stone fireplace, and on the other, a couch, love seat, and easy chair were arranged around a coffee table. The floor was fashioned from uncovered wooden planks. This place was fucking old, maybe even older than its owner. Did it have electricity? Or running water? Or even a goddamn toilet? Maxine hoped so. The kind of movie they were making, they were going to need to clean up between scenes. Besides, she didn't like the idea of having to go outside and squat to do her business. She was a fucking star, and stars didn't do shit in the woods.
She ain't much,
the old man said. RJ grinned as he looked around. She's gorgeous.
Building was for soldiers during the Civil War. And never saw any action, though.
The old man looked at Wayne, his eyes narrowing.
What about you? You serve?
Wayne's smile was almost apologetic. Flat feet. I did, Jackson said. He and Bobby Lynn were sitting on the love seat, their backs to the door. Jackson continued talking without looking at the old man. 2 tours in Vietnam. Had enough farmers trying to shoot me for one lifetime. Now he did turn his head to meet the old man's gaze. Know what I mean, Pops? Hoorah. Jackson spoke these words softly, but for a long moment everyone in the room, the old man included, remained still and silent, as if afraid of what he might do. But then Bobby Lynn forced a giggle, breaking the tension. The old man turned away, upper lip curling into a derisive sneer. Then he laid eyes on Maxine for the first time. She stood next to Wayne, arms crossed, hips cocked. The old man stared at her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. She didn't like the way his cold eyes moved up and down her body, as if she were one of his farm animals, and he was sizing her up, trying to decide if she was ready to slaughter or still needed to fatten up a little more. Wayne saw the way the old man was looking at Maxine and put her arm around her shoulder. Careful, Howie, hot damn, that's my future fiancée you're eyeballing there. He smiled. His voice took on a teasing edge. Been a while since you've seen anything that nice? The old man ignored the comment.
I don't recall you mentioning you bringing any of these others,
he said. Wayne reached into his back pocket to withdraw some cash. Yeah, about that, he said. Your ad said $30, but I threw in a little extra to sweeten the deal. Hope that's okay. Wayne handed the money to the old man. He looked down as he counted it. Then he looked up once more and fixed his gaze on Wayne. He was silent for several long moments.
I don't think I like you, Wayne,
the old man finally said.
In fact, I don't much like the looks of none of y'all. If you hippies want to stay the night, I reckon it ought to cost another $20.
Is that so? Wayne said.
Here's a free country. You're welcome to go someplace else.
No, we love it here. You drive a hard bargain, you know that? Wayne took another 20 from his pocket and handed it to the old man.
At my age, I believe I've earned it,
he said.
Now, my wife is next door, so I'd appreciate a little discretion.
The old man turned and walked outside.
Flat feet my ass,
he muttered as he departed.
I know a fucking drop dodger when I see one.
I give you my word, Wayne called after the old man. You won't even know we're here. He closed the door, then stood there for a moment. That was some stellar negotiating, Bobby Lynn said. You really do have a knack for business. Wayne turned to look at her. You keep John Towhead, and I'll put you off the main stage for a month, he said. He walked over to the window behind the couch and peered outside, checking to make sure the old man was really leaving. Oh, honey, but then you won't make no money neither, Bobby Lynn said. Maxine was angry. She'd favored that old fucker with a smile, and he'd turn around and acted like they were trash, like she was trash. How could you just stand there and let him talk about us like that? She demanded. Wayne continued looking out the window as he answered. Calm down, no need to harsh the mellow. It's harmless. He's just old. His pecker probably ain't been hard since before you were born. I'd hate people like us too. Maxine wasn't mollified by Wayne's words. He was a smooth talker and could make anything sound good when he wanted to, but she decided not to say anything more about it. He doesn't know what we're doing, does he? Lorraine asked. Everyone looked at her in surprise, if not outright shock. So, Church Mouse, you do speak. He rose from the couch and walked slowly toward her. No, he doesn't, and I intend to keep it that way, he said. Wouldn't want to give the old codger a heart attack, would you? Lorraine looked at him, features expressionless, whatever emotions she was feeling masked. Wayne continued. Better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission, know what I mean? The faint sound of an engine starting beckoned Wayne back to the window. Through the window, Maxine saw the old man drive past his truck, likely heading off to spend the money Wayne had just given him. Probably needed to buy an industrial-strength case of denture cream or some shit like that. All right, that's enough jabbering. I reckon it's about high time we cut to the chase and give the people what they want to see, said Wayne. He turned away from the window and gave everyone a big grin. What do you say? Fucking finally, Bobby Lynn said. In the bunkhouse's front bedroom, a naked Bobby Lynn knelt on the floor in front of an equally naked Jackson, gripping his massive cock in her right hand as she sucked him. Lorraine wasn't a virgin, but she'd never watched somebody else have sex before. Not in a movie, and certainly not live and up close. How could the two of them do it with other people watching? She felt uncomfortable just doing it with the damn lights on. She stood near Bobby Lynn and Jackson, holding the shotgun microphone up while the sound recorder captured their moans of pleasure. She was trembling a little. She wasn't sure why. She wasn't scared or anything, and she hoped it wouldn't affect the sound quality. RJ knelt on the floor close by, filming, right eye fixed into the camera lens. left eye squeezed shut. She knew he was aroused too, but not in a sexual way. He was practicing his art, and nothing turned him on more than that. Wayne stood in a corner, out of camera range, watching the action with a big grin on his face. Lorraine couldn't tell if he was getting off on seeing Bobby Lynn and Jackson go at it, or if he was excited thinking about all the money this movie would make him. Probably both, she decided. Bobby Lynn pulled her mouth away from Jackson's cock and released it. Lorraine couldn't get over how big it was. She had no idea it was possible for a penis to grow that large. Would it hurt Jackson when he put it in her? Would it hurt her? Stop it, she told herself. You're here to do a job. Just do it. Bobby Lynn stood, put her hands on her hips, and looked at Jackson, a slight smirk on her face, as if she was daring him to make the next move. In response, he shoved her onto the bed, crawled on top of her, lowered his mouth onto hers, and kissed her hard. She reached up and put a hand on the side of his head and kissed him back even harder. She moaned and writhed between kisses. Jackson pulled away and licked the skin between her breasts, down her abdomen, until he reached her pubic hair. Then he backed off the bed, grabbed Bobby Lynn's ankles, pulled her to him, and lifted her legs up against his chest. Her heels propped on his shoulders. He took hold of her waist to steady her, stepped forward, and slowly entered her. It didn't seem possible that Bobby Lynn could take his entire cock inside her, but she did, and Jackson smiled as he began thrusting. Lorraine had lived in Texas all her life, but she couldn't recall it ever being as hot in summertime as it was in the bedroom at that moment. A line of sweat rolled down her spine, and the sensation made her shiver. She was wet somewhere else too, but she didn't want to think about that right then. RJ spoke for the first time since they'd started filming. Okay, now flip her over. Jackson did so, and Bobby Lynn let out a startled cry. She faked that, Lorraine thought. Or had she? It was hard to tell. Bobby Lynn was turning out to be a much better actress than Lorraine had expected. Bobby Lynn pushed herself onto her hands and knees. Jackson entered her from behind and resumed thrusting. Oh, yeah, Bobby Lynn cried out. Fuck me. That's great, RJ said. Just scoot your chin up for me. Bobby Lynn scooched her chin. All right, now slow it all down. I want to see the passion. Jackson, still thrusting, shot RJ an irritated look. Hey, kid, how about you just point the camera and stay in your lane, he said. Let me do the screwing here. Bobby Lynn laughed at that, and RJ swung the camera to focus on her. As soon as she realized he was filming her reaction, she began moaning again. Yep, definitely faking it, Lorraine thought. I bet it still feels good, though. Hell, I bet it feels great.